Dude, before you go, let's do a quick introduction. So, because we just jumped right into it, man.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
I'm just gonna.
I'm a horrible guest. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. This is perfect, man. It's so much better this way because the conversation just went right in. We didn't, it's harder if I have to go. Hi, I'm Angel, and this is so and so. Tell us about yourself. We didn't even, we just went right into it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Angel R Talk with the Not Just NYC Talking.com podcast, and we're doing this backwards. I'm having Danilo introduce themselves way at the end, but I'll put this in the beginning if that makes any sense. Danilo, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and also where people can find your classes and all that. Go ahead, go for it, brother.
Thank you, Angel. Yeah, we are friends, and that's why we did everything backwards. But yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Danilo Silva. I believe you can find in all social media platforms Danilo Silva, Silva. Or Danilo Zumba NYC. You can always find me. I'm the one there, Brazilian, born and raised. And I right now I only teach virtually because of the times, unprecedented times. But I also have some classes in the park. So hit me up whenever I get to do some social distancing classes in the park. And I'm, like I said, Brazilian, born and raised in Brazil, but live in New York City for almost 10 years. I live and breathe Zumba. Zumba is my main job, and I love what I do. And because of Zumba that I met you, Angel, so I'm very grateful for all the network and people that we find in the fitness industry. And yeah, excited to be here, and it's a great talk as always. Hey.
Hey, what's up, man? You like my setup music?
I love it. Yes. It's who is the singer? Who is that?
Let me throw you on regular speaker for the beginning so Christine can hear you. She's over here
Oh,
next to me.
hey, Chris.
They're called the schoolboys.
This.
The schoolboys.
Oh, nice. I am really into Carole King now because I found a bachata song that I have been using in my Zumba classes. And turns out the very original version of it, it's from Carole King. She wrote in 1961 for the Shirleys.
Oh, what song? What's the song?
Called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow?
Oh man, of course.
Yeah, and so Leslie Grace, which is a American Dominican girl, she sings a bachata version of it. It's really cool.
I love the Shirelles.
Playing the song, you didn't like it.
No. Well, this is like my least, it's the least favorite one of all their popular ones, but I still like it. They have, they have so many beautiful, actually, you know what? Yeah, I think it's the least one because I like this one more.
See, I don't know. And the reason I got very interested in them is because of this song. Yeah. But then when I realized it's from a very old girl band, I got even more interested because I am obsessed with girl bands. I'm obsessed with the British girl band called Little Mix. And I grew up on listening to Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, Danny the Kane, TLC, so I have this passion for women. I just love, I'm a feminist. I like to learn and read what it means, what it is all about. This week, especially, right, we lost our Justice Ruth, our RGB. And it's all about women for me, So I was like, wait, what about the girl bands from the 60s, from the 70s? Because after the Shirleys, the most famous one is the Supremes, and then Diana Ross came out of it, and then we have Donna Summer, and then we have so many other ones, until to the contemporary ones like Pussycat Dolls, Fifth Harmony. It is really cool to see the whole evolution of girl bands, and it all started there in the 60s. But I must confess I don't know a lot of their music, the Shirleys.
Well, I mean, you're getting exposed to them, So the name of the group that you're talking about, they're called the Shirelles. The Shirelles.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
the Shirelles are the ones who do "Will You Still Love Me" and a couple of. They're probably one of the biggest girl groups of that era. One of the biggest, most popular ones. Dude, I when I was a kid, I always listened to oldies to go to sleep.
That's so interesting. See, I'm even saying the wrong one, the wrong pronunciation. So how do you spell the Shirelles?
SHI
I
RE
R RE.
LLES.
The Shirelles. So see, I was saying the Charlene's. I'm crazy. Oh
That's
yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah, I listen. I was listening just last night before going to bed. Um I think the other one was Mama Said.
There'll be days like this. There'll be days like this. My mama said. Mama said. Mama said.
Yeah, that's really cool. I see, and it's so very interesting because being a woman in the music industry was so misogynist. No, was so
Especially
difficult,
back
right?
then.
Because, and now we have like Cardi B talking about her genitalia. So they definitely came a long way, and they still have so much to conquer. So listening to women back then, like it just give you a different perspective, a different appreciation, because
You
they
know,
they
if you
have it
listen
down.
you listen to a lot of those songs
Mm.
and do that, listen to them, right? I've like keep going through. I've listened to songs that when I listen to the lyrics, it blows my mind. So like one of the songs says, I know he's cheating on me, but I don't care. Like, I
Uh-huh.
still love my baby because he's always there. I'm like, dude, you just said he's cheating on you and you
Yeah.
don't care. Another song, the best friend steals the boyfriend, and she says, I'm gonna get him back. So it's like I listen to them and I'm like, the women of today would never do that.
No.
You know what I mean? So it also reflects the culture,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
cultural shifts and everything. I mean, like you said, Cardi B, I got my wet ass pussy. Wet, and,
Can
so
we
it's, you know,
can we say the P word in this podcast?
we say whatever we want, man. When I post it with explicit content.
Uh,
You know,
yeah, with the
yeah,
parent advisory seal.
yeah.
Yeah, like be
I
advised.
tried I tried to keep it very clean, and it was losing the nature of how some of us talk, myself included.
Mm.
So like when I'm talking with politicians, I'm not talking to them about pussy. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I keep it. I'll adjust accordingly. But
Yeah.
like we're talking about the cultural shifts in music and how historically, women are like, well, I don't know if it's the Shirelles, but I have a whole bunch of songs of women who are basically saying it doesn't matter what he does. He cheats on me. He loves her, but I'm still with him, and I'm always gonna be with him. Like that was the mindset,
Yeah.
of the music back then. And today, it's completely, totally empowerment.
True.
Talking
We
about,
still we still I was watching yesterday because we still have a long way to go, and it's interesting to be having a conversation like this with two men. We're two Latin men, so
right.
we do have our privilege. We do have a different perspective and different experience, but just the fact that we're talking about this is a great sign of
We have a
the
woman right next to us
of
who
the
will
new era.
check
Yeah,
us.
Chris, and Chris, and because feminism is a very subjective thing because it's based on experience to experience. Like I was checking, like being a woman is different from being a black woman or an immigrant
Right.
woman or a
Course.
white woman.
Being male, you have light skinned male, dark skinned male,
Yeah,
hetero male, gay male, all the different, it's not just, you know, I guess the top echelon would be the white cishet, right? That's the, in terms of privilege. And then from there, it breaks
and
down and stuff.
and and that's why it's so difficult to have a conversation, even like if it's just women, because women have such a different, unique view from what feminists should be, that it's sometimes taboo even among them, right? Like we have, well, nowadays we have Lizzo, right? Which is a huge pop icon in the music industry, and she talks like, "Oh, if he doesn't love you anymore, you walk your fine ass out the door," and and that's very empowering. But other women might say, "Oh, that's vulgar," or "That's not empowering at all." So depends on where you come from. I'm very interesting because that's political, right? That's like when you talk to politicians or you talk to artists, even when you don't like, oh, keep talking about music, no, but your
Right.
music reflects society, and society is political. Everything's political. The way a baker or the way the cashier treats you, it's a political thing. You are always being,
Everything is intermingled in society for
yeah,
sure.
you're always be interacting because of political things in society, and society is changing finally. I saw an interview with the Avengers, and the type of questions they were asking Chris Evans was totally different the kind of questions they were asking Scarlett Johansson, because she was like, it's funny, like he gets all the interesting questions and I get all the like rabbit food question about my time.
I feel like I might have seen that.
Yeah,
I feel like I might have seen that.
yeah, she's retaliating. She said like, are you gonna ask the same question to my male actors for the male, like why would you not ask Chris Esma how he's managing being a father slash actor? Like you never ask that a man, because what was the difference? You have to call it out, because sometimes people just ask out of ignorance. It's not because they
Yeah.
mean
Well, the
they don't mean
conversations
bad.
matter. The conversations matter. A couple of days ago, I got called out on Twitter by a
Ooh,
guy. I said I will never use Latinx. I don't like the term Latinx. I am Latino. I'm Latino and she's Latina. Now, if you tell me, call me Latinx, I will call you Latinx out of respect for you and your choice.
yeah,
I will never use the term. And then this guy broke it down, man. He went in on me. He told me a new one, man. Just ripped me apart. By the end of the conversation, I said, listen, man, you embarrassed the hell out of me. I feel embarrassed. I feel kind of humiliated.
mm,
But this is necessary because you taught me something. You
yeah,
know, you taught me something. So I am now a little more, I still have that inner resistance to the word Latinx, right?
right.
But I have a better understanding after that. We say a pela lengua. He gave me like a verbal whooping, you know, um, and broke it down, man. He pointed out things that I said that I didn't even realize how they were coming across.
Hmm.
Like he said, your very first statement was, I will never use this word Latinx. So you are already choosing the side of the winner, as opposed to the people who are trying to rise up and improve their situation. You just said, by saying I won't use that word, you just told me that you're choosing the side of the person who's on top. I
Yeah.
didn't perceive it that way.
Well,
You know,
give me a little bit. What does that mean? Because I actually am not quite sure what Latinx means.
okay, so in Spanish, the words have gender.
Yeah, Latino,
La-
Latina.
Latino, Latina. But what about the people who don't identify as either?
Mm.
So to address that, a group of individuals came up with a term called Latin X, where you remove the A and the O. So it's Latin X. And the words that have gender type of a meaning is being replaced with an X. So Latin X. I'm trying to think of another word that any word that has A or O in it can have an X in it. But
Yeah.
the major point is with Latinx, and to me, grammatically, that just didn't make any sense. Latinx.
For example,
But to
the actress from the TV show Pose, she is a Latinx. I think she's from the Dominican Republic, I think. Dominique Jackson. Are you familiar with her? She's a beautiful transgender actress. Um, so I could refer as a Latinx actress. It's like a beautiful
If
Latinx actress. I'm just asking because I'm trying
right,
to understand
right, of
the
course, of course.
usage of
Yeah,
it.
if you've never heard it, so it depends on what pronoun she wants used. So if she wants to be, addressed as, because it really depends on the individual. So I don't even know, what pronoun a person would want, right? But when speaking in general, so like if I'm gonna say generally, I would say I'm writing an article, right? I will say within the Latino population, there are 50% of people who eat hamburgers. So that line now should read within the Latinx population,
Ah,
50% read hamburgers or eat hamburgers, or whatever. But you may say, I am he, him. Those are your pronouns. Or
yeah,
you may say her, or, in which case then I will say Latina or Latino. You
yeah.
know,
I
I'm not the best representative to explain the perfect etiquette of it because, as I just told you, I got my ass whooped, um, on Twitter for it.
Oh, but
But
apparently his intention was positive because
oh,
he
absolutely, I
actually
thanked him.
the
I
bottom
totally
line
thanked
was
him.
to he wanted you to learn
Yeah,
from his explanation. So he didn't mean
not
anything
at all.
malicious or
No, no,
what
no.
it was rude because Twitter is a dangerous zone that sometimes I'm really afraid of tweeting or even liking a tweet because you can get in hot waters really easily because especially after Tumblr went down and Instagram like start like making their regulations a little bit more strict, everybody gravitated towards Twitter because Twitter is so like liberating, right? You can post like pornography, you can a lot of the porn industry people are always using Twitter as their platform now. And it's yeah, it's a all man's land and you can get in hot waters really fast because they don't have censorship there. So I'm always afraid, but it's interesting, like sometimes you can tell from tweets or from a person on tweet when they are just being malicious and their intention is just to hurt you and put you down versus when they really want you to learn and be educated and have like an open conversation. That's another issue too. Non-binary, queer figures, LGBTQ representatives in society nowadays. It's a game change. It's a game changer. Like especially within the last 10 years, it changed completely. It's so
It's
complicated.
hard, man. It's
Yeah,
hard to keep up with everything and to not offend people and to not, you know, and like you said, this guy wasn't malicious. He I mean, it was clear he was checking me, but I was willing to receive the lesson. It wasn't like I was being confrontational. I said, listen, and educate me, enlighten me, tell me. Because his first response was, okay, whatever. And I said, hold up, man, don't okay, whatever me. Tell me, educate me. What did where am I wrong in this? Educate me because if you don't educate me, I will continue with the same ignorant mindset. I won't know better. Educate me. And he did. He gave me a verbal lashing and he educated me and I appreciated it. It really, I am one step closer to using the term Latinx.
yeah, yeah.
And if he would have attacked me and been an asshole, I would have shut down and I would have become defensive and nothing would, nothing changes. So it's important.
Kudos to you for not being defensive and being open-minded and being humble and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that's one new thing we learned today." We can learn something new every single day. At least one thing we can always do. We always do, um,
And you should.
and it's
Like,
always the what is always going to differ is the intention. The intention is always um, the the element that will save you. It's the saving grace of everything you do in life. Because sometimes, like even when you talk to someone who is from a different gender or non-binary or don't identify necessarily the way they might look a certain way, but it doesn't mean their gender is the certain gender they identify with. But then you humbly and respectfully approach that individual and you say, would you mind explain or just tell me what pronoun you want me to use or to address you? And they will always be so glad that you did that, because they will always tell you, no, oh, I identify as as a female, and you should address me as she, her, hers, um, or they, them, theirs. Now, a lot of non-binaries like to be using neutral pronouns as well. And it's not up to you to say no, it's wrong or makes no sense in the English language. It's their right to be called the way they want it to be, and you should move on. It's not that serious in the end of the day, you know. Yeah, conversations are always important, but your saving grace will always be the intention. You always have a good intention, be humble, and you'll be fine. Don't worry. You are very outspoken, Angel. You'll be fine because you have this thirst for knowledge and you're very curious, you know?
It's just simple. If I'm wrong, I like to learn and know.
Exactly, yeah.
I do have difficulty with terms like calling someone they. That's a little hard for me because in my brain it doesn't make sense grammatically, right?
It sounds foreign, yeah.
But at the same time, I am aware that this is what someone wants me to address them at, and just a simple matter of respect for me to just adjust the words that I use is not a big deal. And some people don't want to do that, and that's just a stubborn person. Oh, I'm not gonna comply to this mental illness. Like, it's what a lot of people say, right? They're like, this is a mental illness, and I'm not gonna further enhance it, right? And my thing is, listen, you saying they, does that hurt you? Does it hurt you? And I've had some pretty heavy arguments with people about it, because they're like, yes, because it degrades the moral fiber of society. And then we're all complying with it, and now we as a society are weaker. And I get into these crazy arguments, but my thing is at the end of the day, if you and I are friends, right, and I value you as a person, and you tell me, Angel, I identify as they, call me they, don't call me him, don't call me her, then if I respect you and I value you, I should probably comply. Call you what you want to be called. It's just a matter of respect. That's how I see it. So
it's a great approach. You always have the choice to accept things or not. It's your human right. It's your American right. I'm proud to live in the United States. I love my country. I don't love the government. It's okay to love a country and not love its government. But we do have the democracy and the right to accept things or not. But accepting is a privilege. Respect is not a choice. You can accept someone or not, but you have no choice between respecting someone. Sometimes, like, I don't agree like with Donald Trump's policy, and I might not accept a lot of things they say, but I come from a point of view. My mother always raised me to respect someone no matter what. So I have no choice but respecting the president or respect someone who doesn't have the same views. I have no choice. I have to respect that person. But I don't need to accept what they think about me. And they can, because they say the same. Oh, I don't have the obligation to accept you. And I say, that's correct. But you don't have the option to not respect me. Respect is not an option. And people sometimes forget there's a fine line between acceptance and respect. Respect, you don't have a choice. You have to respect an individual, no matter who that person is. And that's the problem about this country nowadays. It's so divided, so divided.
Well, there is a lack of respect. There is certainly a lack of respect amongst a lot of people. me ask you something, right?
Hmm.
Some time ago, you did a Zumba event, right? We haven't even introduced you yet, man.
Oh
We
my
just
gosh.
jumped into the Shirelles, and we did, you know, by default, I started like the thing was already recording, so I just let it go because we're already having a conversation. And
Yes,
you
I
know,
love it. I love it.
I can edit it and stuff, so it's okay. But we didn't even, so we'll do the introduction at the end. You know, we'll do the, you know. So you did a Zumba event where you were doing like, I guess it was half drag, if I remember right.
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, that events didn't happen because it was my birthday class. My birthday is in March. My birthday is March 16, and the class was supposed to happen on March 18th, and the shutdown happened on March 16th. So everything was shut down. So the class has been postponed. It's
Indefinitely, right? Until
yeah, it postponed to June and then went to September and now it's November something, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna get postponed again because I will either have to do two classes and I'm gonna be losing money because I'm gonna have to rent the studio twice. Because they're not gonna allow me to have 40 people inside a studio anytime soon. But the event was supposed to be me in drag teaching a Zumba class, and the flyer was my face half in drag and half in boy with like beard, because
you shaved half of it for the.
I did.
I
The photo
remember that.
shoot, I shaved just half of it, and the makeup artist made my face as a woman. It was pretty cool. I'm pretty sure in the podcast, people can check in the links below. Like I can put the photos, and it was
I'll
a
be
very
proud of it.
beautiful flyer. I was very proud of it because whenever I do a Zumba class, I do have this side of me that comes out, and I just want people to feel fierce and fabulous.
When you
You
do the
know,
wigs, you do the wig
yeah.
spot. You certainly put on a performance, man. You're one of my favorite guys to take. Let me tell you, I won't be getting up at 9 a.m. on a Sunday for too many people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I want you to feel whatever I'm feeling too, and the song and the lyrics, all the songs I use in my Zumba class is just it's just with the purpose to make you feel empowered. You know, I use a lot of like girl bands in my Zumba classes. I use a lot of
Amazon.
like queer people. I use queer artists. So you might as well just feel that too and take that into the rest of your day. um yeah, thank you. Another thing I like to do is I tell them, like, you know, Beyonce has the Sasha Fierce, like, which is her alter ego. So I named my alter ego Piper. Okay? I was obsessed with Charmed. Remember that TV show called Charmed with the
Never watched it, but I know it. I heard of it. I never watched that one though.
yeah, we was Lisa Milano, and that girl from Sharon something. One of they were all witches, and one of the witches were Piper, and I always loved her. She was my favorite. So she was like this sassy witch, and I always loved her. And so that was the name of the Zumba class, that event. It was like the introduction
Um,
of Piper, you know, the drag. I was looking forward to the event, and then the pandemic officially shut everything down. And
timing, man. The timing just kind of a lot of things, you know. Just I mean, I'm big on perspective about the pandemic, right? Every time I'm gonna complain about it and stuff, I think to myself, I still have my job. My wife is healthy. My son is healthy. My mom is healthy. My sisters are healthy. A lot of people lost family, lost jobs, lost homes. So it's hard. I don't complain much about it. You know, it certainly has thrown a wrench in our lives and, you know, everything we're doing. But it is not lost on me that I haven't lost that much, you know, by contrast, you know. I only found out a week ago that my mom had COVID. She didn't even know. They sent her home thinking it was the flu, you know. And my sister too, who has asthma, which is a high risk, they sent her, it's a flu. and God knows what could have happened, you know. So like the level of gratitude that I, you know, the perspective that I have. Like my mom has lost a lot of friends, a lot of her friends that they play bingo every, you know, every month and stuff. Like no more, man. So this pandemic has really hurt a lot of people in a lot of ways. So when I think like, oh man, I was just building up my Zumba class. I picked up a new Zumba class and it was getting filled up. When I'm about to complain about that, I remember, wait a minute, Angel, that's all you lost, then you're doing okay. You know, you
Sure.
gained a little weight, you're fat. If that's all you got, you're doing okay. That means you have food. you know, you know.
Yeah, all the changes that has happened in my life and all my close friends, my immediate circle, my immediate family, um, it was like life changing too. But then you have to put everything in perspective. I know it's difficult, but whenever I think about the things I've lost and the things that happened that didn't really go according to my plans, I think of people that have lost greater things or bigger things in life, and then all of a sudden you don't feel so bad anymore. So and that's what I learned right now. I learned that networking and compassion and helping the other helps you in return. You know, networking is all about giving. Networking is all about being like sharing your talent, your care, being genuine to yourself, and just um, chill. Now, sometimes some people just want to be heard. I learned that a lot through Zumba. You know, I'm a Zumba instructor in New York City for almost 5 years now. And I know that the reason my classes are always well attended is because I listen to a lot of my students before and after class, because they are not just like training and exercising their bodies. They also there's an element of mental health there,
Yes,
and the
absolutely.
quarantine enhanced all the mental health issues we all have, you know. And then on the top of that, you lost your job, you lost your loved ones, you lost friends, um, so you have no choice but had to deal with that. And some people weren't were not able to deal in the best way. There are people struggling up to this day, and there are people who are better now because of what happened. I feel I'm better because I lost my grandmother in March, same day, same month that the shutdown happened. The birthday plans went down the drain. I lost my lovely grandmother that I couldn't even go to Brazil to see it because São Paulo has been the epicenter of this virus too in Brazil. So, um, and I had many reasons that I could be depressed and being like defeated and feel sorry for myself. But then I lost. I also have people in my life who has been suffering greater things, and that made me feel more sympathetic and more. Um,
Give you perspective. Yeah.
yeah, there's always someone who's suffering more than you in life. Always.
But that
Always.
doesn't, you know, that's not to um, downplay or negate our own, you know what I
Not at
mean?
all.
You always recognize, you know, your own, and, you know, sometimes people say you have no reason to be sad. It's like, well, yeah, I do. You know, you know, you always got to remember that, you know, I had to check myself a couple of, again, another lesson that I had to give myself a few weeks ago. It's probably more like a month or 2 months, but my son was he wasn't in a good headspace, right? And my sister wasn't in a good headspace, my little sister. So she reached out to me, and when I talk to her, I'm very tender, very kind, very like it's okay, you know. And when my son came to me, I was making fun of him. You know what I mean? And he got mad. He closed himself in the room, and he didn't come out for like a day or a day and a half. And I hadn't realized. Then I was doing something, and then something clicked in my head. Why did you tell your son, suck it up? Suck it up, man. It's okay. You know, when he was telling me something, I kind of just dismissed it and was like, come on, man, cut that crap out. Meanwhile, my sister tells me something similar, and I'm like, it's okay. It's okay to feel. And I caught myself that because he's a boy and he's 20 years old, I completely responded differently. And I went and I told him, listen, I just realized something. I did this, this, and that. I'm sorry. I apologize. It was very insensitive of me, and I'm still working on myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I caught myself, and he didn't tell me. He just hid in the room, and then I didn't understand why is he mad. Like I didn't, you know. And then I realized, oh wow, my response there was very macho, very very, you know.
And how old is your son now?
He's 20.
He's 20. You have a 20-year-old son.
Yeah.
Wow.
20 years old. You know.
Wow.
And I realized what I did, and I apologized, and you know, we talked about it, about the thing he was
Very
feeling.
good of you. Again, your approach was perfect because
I'm glad I realized it.
yeah,
I'm glad that whatever.
Being a man nowadays, especially in 2020, is very hard because they can neglect their emotions or let's say their feminine side. Just because you're a straight man doesn't need to be toxic. That toxic masculinity can be very bad to your own heart and your own emotions because you're entitled to feel your emotions, you know, and it's a very old school mentality to tell a boy to suck it up because boys are not allowed to cry, boys are not allowed to go to therapy, or boys are not allowed to feel depressed. um, a lot of people think that depression is not a real thing. You know, and I myself, I used to look down on people who are depressed because I'm always so optimistic and energetic, but then you go through things in life and say, wow, um, I am too allowed to feel sad and depressed. And that's actually a sign of strength when you allow yourself to to have your moments. The negative part is when you're just unable to get out of that hole, you know. And that's what depression is, right? Because everybody's sad, everybody's happy, everybody have their ups and down. The problem is like when you're stuck in that hole for months, that's depression. And that's when we need to be very compassionate towards people who are suffering. Like, I don't know, your listeners might be listening to this and thinking about their own family members, and thinking, wow, yeah, the problem is not being said. The problem is being said for a long period of time. You know,
Perpetuate sadness. Yeah.
yeah, everybody, especially boys. Boys have to be reminded nowadays. Young boys, young men, have to be reminded that they need their emotional self to be in check too, and they are allowed to go through their feelings too. It's part of this new thing, you know. It's a full circle, like going back to beginning of this conversation when we're talking about feminism. What being a feminist is not like neglecting one gender. It's making sure both genders and both sides are being treated equally. You know, your masculinity, but also your femininity. You know, your emotions, your body. You know, equality. You know, it's equality. It's everything has been brought up to a point that it's there's no turning back. No, we're talking. The coronavirus has awakened us, and I think it's a beautiful thing. It's causing a lot of pain, but it's a beautiful thing. We're finally having like Black Lives Matter. We're finally talking about non-binary, feminism, what it is to be a certain race in this country, you know, the government and how they treat minorities, you know. It's it's turmoil, but it's good because good things will come out of it. You know, 2020, I don't like to say 2020 is a bad year actually, because I think 2021 will be only the way it's gonna be because of 2020. So 2020 had to happen somehow. Eventually, it would have to happen.
Right. To lead to the better place.
Yeah, yeah. We need 2021 will be better because of 2020. That's how I think. You know,
I saw a meme and it said um it was like a future meme and they said, hey, you remember the first year of quarantine? It said 2020, that was the first year of quarantine,
oh
right?
my gosh.
Which implies that there's more years. So when I saw
Yeah.
that meme, I was like, oh crap, it was
How
funny, but at the same time, it was like, huh, okay, like
how are your views on vaccines? Do you really believe that we're gonna have a vaccine for coronavirus that soon, like they are saying?
I tell you what, I'm not gonna be one of the early adopters.
Me,
That's
me
for sure.
neither. Me neither. Yeah.
I'm certainly not gonna be that because I'd rather take my chances with the virus than take my chances with the vaccine and the virus. You
Yeah,
know,
I think majority of people have the same view as you. You definitely don't want to take the first batches. But God
look at
knows.
how long it's taken them to. They haven't come up with a universal flu vaccine yet. I was watching a documentary on that. I think the documentary was called Pandemic. Remember with the piggies? So they were trying to find a universal vaccine for the flu, and it's been years and years and years and trials and trials and trials. No, no, no success. How are you going to come up with a vaccine for something as lethal as this thing in less than a year? That concerns me. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Like I have my vaccines. My son has his vaccines when he was. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm also not an idiot. And if it came out this quickly, maybe the reason it takes so long is red tape, and to save lives, they cut that red tape. Maybe, but
Hmm.
I'm not entirely convinced of that. So I'll wait. you
Yeah,
know,
especially if your body's healthy and you have a certain lifestyle. Yeah, you can wait. You can wait a couple of years. I think we will have a concrete answer about this vaccine by 2022. 2021 will be like we will be watching
how many people
headlines
are gonna
about the
drop
first
dead?
vaccines and the first people taking it. And then by 2022, we might be like better distributed and better um, realized, right? Because they are gonna see what the masses will be reacting to it, and hopefully, when it's not a thing anymore, it's just very scary because we don't know the timeline, right? Everything might be within a couple of months or a couple of years. Like if you're a performer, if you work on Broadway, if you do concerts, you don't know when you're coming back.
It's tough for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
how are
do you
your guys? Uh,
you have lights going around?
yes, I have
Okay. Okay.
a
I was like, is something wrong with my screen or is that okay, it's real. Okay. I
yeah, I
I've
have a.
seen it the whole time and I thought so, but I was like, let me just make sure.
You're not high. Don't worry, you're not high.
Uh,
Are you? Is your podcast also available on visual? Can people
yes.
actually watch it too?
Yeah, I put it on YouTube as well.
All right, all right. So yeah, I'll send the link to a couple of friends. But I was like making sure my bedroom looked a little bit better because this is where I also teach my virtual classes. So I have this black light. Uh, oh, oops, I have this black light.
Okay.
I bought this tiny little mirror ball.
Yeah. I had one of those for class one time. I broke it the same day I got it.
Oh my gosh.
I broke it like before I even started the class. I broke it.
It is fun because it makes the class a little bit more festive.
Yeah.
Depending on the song, like I always end with like, do you know that Blinding Lights from The Weekend?
Oh, I love
Love
that
that
song.
song. So I
Love
always
that
have
song.
that song on and I put my shade.
I love that song. So
Yeah,
much
very
fun.
80s. Yeah, love it.
It's one of my favorite songs right now. That one. I love it. I was trying to create a choreography for it, but it's a TikTok popular song. So the TikTok dance is stuck in my head, so I can't create. All I got in my head is that move that they do. So I'm having a
I
hard
use it as
time.
a cool down. I use it as the last song of the class. I do a cool down with that,
And
and
how have you felt with the transition to virtual from real Zumba to virtual? Like, is it still fun for you? Do you still, you know, like enjoy doing it? I tried and I just couldn't get into it. Like,
well, I must say that I will never find it as good as a live class.
right,
No, but it is the best that we can do out of the situation. So that's how my approach to it. I feel very grateful because thanks to the virtual classes, I do my classes either $5 per person attending it on Zoom, or sometimes I do free classes and they just donate whatever they want
right,
uh, for it, and it's giving me an income, so I'm very grateful for it. But the transition was hard for me because I don't like doing things online, and I like to reserve my home for resting and
oh,
decompressing. So when I was obliged to bring my work to my home, to my resting place where I rest, uh, it was hard. So I didn't start immediately. I allowed myself to give like a couple weeks of rest. No, so the shutdown happened in March. I think I started my virtual classes only in April. And first I was trying to do on free platforms like Facebook, Instagram. But then because of music copyrights, they were like blocking my classes. They were interrupting the connection.
right,
And also because the Zumba license doesn't allow you to do things on Instagram or Facebook. So I had to go to Zoom, and then took me a while. I had to buy a new laptop. I had to buy new equipment. I had to give a boost to my Wi-Fi, to the router in the apartment, because we had all the shitty old um, Spectrum plan, and they were not the best. So it took another month or two, almost 2 months, for my classes to be like good with the sound in sync, because for many
yeah,
classes was a mess, like the image wouldn't sync with the
right.
audio, or
That was
sometimes I would
painful.
lose
Yeah,
connection, or my laptop was just old. I had a very old laptop, so I had to buy something, and I had to wait until because I wanted to buy something really new, so I bought the latest MacBook, uh, and it took me like 2 months saving and doing things, donations, and so I bought that because it was worth it, because now my Zumba classes on Zoom are pretty reliable. It happens six days a week. I either do at 12:30 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. I always give the password because every class now is a different password. So whenever somebody texts me, "Oh, can I take your classes?" I give them for free. And then later on, I say, "Listen, I accept donations. It's usually $5 per person." And
I'm paying off a Mac. I
yeah,
gotta make my Mac
exactly.
money back.
And they are picking up. They are picking up. I usually have like between 15 to 25 people per class.
Very good.
It's a decent number of
Yeah, very
attendees.
good.
Yeah,
Very good.
and
You have that consistency. It's very, dude. I tried
that's
a
the
couple of
secret.
classes, one or two people. My biggest number was four, and I was like, man, this shit ain't for me, man. I was moving furniture around, doing all this work for the. Everybody's like, do Zumba, do a class, and I go through all this trouble, and nobody shows up. And I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'm not doing this. And people message me, hey, what happened to your class? I'm like, fuck out of here. You didn't even show up. You know, you
yeah.
know.
Today I had a class today, Friday at 12:30. I had 13 people, lucky 13. And then some people don't do the class, and they just want to watch. Sometimes it's funny, like, because you can tell they're not working out, they're just watching.
Oh, that's like your only fans.
Yeah,
Only fans, you know what I'm saying? Only fans.
I don't know if you see, I have a rack of wigs and costumes. I put like
they
my.
just want to watch you, you know?
Yeah, I do things because sometimes I know they just want to watch, and they just want to be entertained. They don't really want to work out, but I do it, as long they pay me something. And that's how I learned. You have to be consistent, and eventually it picks up, and the more stupidity you do on camera, the more they appreciate, because they need sometimes
well, it's entertaining.
To laugh.
Your class is a lot of fun, man. You're first of all, you have a great personality, right? You have this vibe and stuff. And I've told you this before, right? As a heterosexual male, right? I can still acknowledge your sexuality, like
Nothing wrong with that, yeah.
you emanate this prowess, and that attracts people. It just does. It draws them in. Maybe it's not sexual. I don't know. Maybe it's a spiritual, because it's an energy, right? You have this energy that draws people in.
I do think that's something from my background, because I was born and raised in Brazil. I came to the United States. I was 25. Now I'm 35. I've been here for 10 years. But in Brazil, I used to teach English for a living. I used to be a ESL instructor for a living. And I used to do carnivals. And carnivals in Brazil is all about being like body positive, embracing all types of bodies, all shapes. And it's a very thirst trap mentality, because you have to be always like doing carnivals, being attracting the tourists, the gringos, So it's all about like using that image to sell a show, right? So I grew up with that kind of mentality. Plus, I love my divas, so I tend to emanate what they do on their shows, and
I don't think this.
So it's my nature. It's who I am.
I don't think this is something that is taught or acquired. It's something you just have. Because if it were, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? If it were just an act, right? If this was I think I would be able to see through that. And as a heterosexual guy, right? I wouldn't feel that draw to another guy. You know what I'm saying? Like this energy draw. So there's got to be something more. And I've met people like that. Like you just meet some people that just emanate this energy.
Yeah, it's a sexual energy that some people have naturally, and I think I don't like saying that about myself, but I'm
saying it for you.
I used to, but I've done many jobs ever since I moved to the United States, and living in New York, I hustled, Yeah, so I actually worked in nightclubs. I worked as a stripper. I worked in many places, in gay clubs and gay bars that require that kind of energy, and you either have it or not, like you said. And now, even though that chapter in my life is totally behind me, I still somehow bring that up during my Zumba classes. Of course, it's a different environment, and you have to be respectful, you have to be appropriate, but I still have it in me. Yeah. And I think people like it. People feel inspired, because it's an energy. We all have it, in different levels, but we all have it.
And it's fun. I do it too. I live my wannabe stripper fantasies in Zumba as well.
There we go, yeah.
I get into it just the same, man. You get the hip gyrations, and I'm not like a sexy guy. I'm not a good mover, like I don't have that, but I do it in a way that they may not look at me and think, man, this guy is so sexy, or some do, I've been told. But
you'll be surprised You know, you'd be surprised. Some people disagree with you.
And we have fun. I have a blast doing it. Like I love it. Like that was one of the things that I missed most during the pandemic was that I wasn't. I think of it like performing. You
Yeah.
know, it's like performing. Now there is a difference. Like there are Zumba instructors who just perform, so they look at themselves in the mirror and they just do their own thing. I'm not a fan of that. I want the performer or the Zumba instructor who interacts with the class, engages, looks at the class, and like that's how I am. So when I say the word perform, I don't want to be misinterpreted as somebody who's just looking at the mirror and looking at themselves. Like I perform and entertain while engaging, and I cue and I do the movements, and for me it's just like this, like this interacting performance between all of us. We're all in this stage doing this performance. I just want to be careful with the word performance because there are some instructors who I call them performers, but they're not participants. And I don't want to go into like bashing anyone or any whatever, but I just wanted to be clear on the word. When I say I treat it as a performance, it's an outlet for me. You know, um, I coped with depression for a long time myself. When I was younger, I was even suicidal for a period, and writing was an outlet. Doing spoken word poetry was an outlet.
Oh, really?
Exercise, and then somewhere along the line, I shifted into not just exercise but Zumba, creating choreography, being in the class. It became therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic for me. It's a very helping thing for me, and
Yeah,
I
that's what people, whoever teaches Zumba or whoever wants to become a Zumba instructor, regardless of your relationship with the music, with your playlist, because Zumba Corporation actually, it's a great company because they allow you to use whatever music you want
right,
to teach a
very
class
important. Yeah,
under the license, right? Because you have to have the license, you have to have CPR and certain things, and you have to have that in mind. Before you are a performer, you're still there as an instructor, so you have
right,
to instruct before performing. So first you instruct, second you perform. It's
yeah,
not the other way around. You don't perform first and then reminds yourself to instruct. No, it should always be like, my mentality is whenever I create a choreography or a dance to something, I always imagine my grandmother doing it, because
mm,
because Zumba is for general public. It's not for dancers. So you have to have in mind that that choreography has to be appropriate for the majority of people who attend Zumba classes, which is like people in their
hmm,
middle ages, people who are not dancers but love to dance. So yeah, you're not there to show off or to
right,
do extreme movements and you be like totally out of touch with people who like the brand. You're using the word Zumba, so you have to abide to
right,
the rules of what the methodology is. And I see, and that's the thing too, without naming people, a lot of instructors just borrow the like dribble the regulations and the rules.
right.
They break the rules and you shouldn't. You have to make the best out of it without breaking the methodology. It's very ambiguous in certain ways because of the music, but um, you have to remind yourself you're an instructor first. And I
Yeah,
like that. I like being instructor first and then I perform later.
yeah.
um,
You,
uh,
you you know, I always make sure that as I'm learning choreography, I'm embedding my cues into it. It's a part of the creation process. So if I'm learning or borrowing a choreography that I like from somebody, or if I'm creating one in my mind as I'm creating it, not after, not as an afterthought, as part of the process. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm gonna be going, let's say I try to pre-cue. So if I'm doing this and I'm about to go that way, I kind of go like while you're still on the last two steps, I point this way and I'll throw a number up, and then it's just part of my creation process.
Yeah.
And I tell that, and anytime somebody reaches out to me that they're about to become an instructor or they want to learn how to, I say it's a little extra work, but you need to embed the choreography. The cueing needs to be part of that process.
Yeah.
Don't learn choreo and then later try to figure out how to cue it, because it gets ingrained in your head. So if you're in your head, you go, prior to the movement, you've already done this. You're telling them 2 counts, and give them that second. Boom, I do this, I wait, and then continue so that they can, they know what's coming. I do that in advance, but I do that before I even ever bring it out to somebody. Like I'm practicing the choreography. The cues are part of it. Even the little, that's part of like bringing it in and making it fun, not just going. Part of my choreography, is throwing the thing out, and just the cues are part of it. And then after like the first loop, you don't keep doing it unless they're lost.
You use progression, right? Like, that's the thing too. My advice for anyone who wants to be a Zumba instructor is just to be simple. Sometimes less is more. Because the first thing you want to do is to engage with the audience, with the students, the participants, and make sure they are following their own pace. So the first 2 chorus of verses of the song, you're actually just doing like on a 50-60%.
Right.
Then you go 100% towards the end, making sure they are aware that 100% is very personal. You can go there or not. Like they have to feel comfortable and free to do their own flavor. That people think. I think that's why Zumba is so popular. People have the liberty to put their own flavor in every class, regardless who is teaching. Just because you go a certain way doesn't mean you are actually doing exactly the same way the instructor doing. You're doing like your own version of that step. And instructing sometimes, you do the cueings, but make sure you go slow. Go slow, don't rush, right? A lot of people forget that people don't know the choreography. So if you make a mistake, they will never know anyway. Don't rush. Take your time. You progress. Go 100% just towards the last minute of each song. And then you get more confident too. It's just a matter of time. Like once you're teaching for over a year, you get it. It's a muscle.
Dude, if somebody like me can teach and people like it, and trust me, man, I'm the guy that's against the wall at the weddings that is afraid to dance and move. And, if I can do it, people ask me, so Angel, you say you don't know how to dance. No. Well, how do you do Zumba? Because I practice. I practice for hours and hours and hours. And because I know the level of work that I put into it, I'm confident that what it is that I'm doing, I don't know if I'll call this dancing, but this that I'm doing, it's going to be correct. I'm going to be doing what I mean to do because of the level of practice. Now, when I go, like I went to an event with Ricardo Marmite, right? And he brought me on stage. I was uncomfortable on stage because I don't know his choreography. So somebody asked me later, they're like, you looked really nervous. Like, you're an instructor, you've been doing it. And I'm like, yeah, but I know my choreography. And if I am in somebody else's class, I don't want a spotlight on me because I don't know their choreography. I'm going to look stupid. I'm also kind of awkward and goofy. So, for me to, once I get it. But, like I was anxious. I didn't want to go up there and they're like, oh, get up here. And I'm like, and I caught on, but it took me a cycle to figure out what he was doing,
That happened to me once, and I made so many mistakes. But then, do you know what I did? I just stopped, and I was pointing at him, hyping him up. I was like, I'm not gonna be a fool here. I'm gonna be like, oh, I did that on purpose. You will never know. I was like, yeah, come on. But I was pointing at him and like,
The hype man.
I was the hype man. I became the hype man because in the end of the day, it was his choreography anyway. Yeah, it was not my turn to do the choreography. So, and he wanted me to be with him on the stage, and I was like, oh, yeah, um, and that's the thing. Yeah, just make sure you're connecting with the participants, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I have a lot of people who actually likes your class, Angel. Whenever you're teaching Queens, the Zumba participants I have in Queens, they always say, "Oh, I used to love Angel's class at 24 Hour Fitness." They are soon coming back again, right? Because they
we taught
October 2nd.
I taught some and then they canceled them again. And they didn't, so my Saturday class, they didn't even give me a chance to teach it before they canceled them. It was full. It was full to capacity to what they allowed that Saturday. And I said, look, you guys didn't even give us a chance. Look, the room is.
I think they overstepped some kind of regulation from the city, so they had to turn it down.
I think so too.
Back in October, they said.
Yeah, I think so too, because Retro Fitness told me that they were not allowed to do it indoors yet. Yeah. So we do it on the roof. So I think it's very possible that they might have jumped the gun, and that's probably why they paused it. Although they said that they were keeping body pump classes. So I don't know.
And body pump, there's no body pump classes in Kew Gardens yet, anyway.
No.
No classes at all. It's weird. I'm good just teaching the park, to be frank. As long as it doesn't snow, I'll be teaching as many classes as I can. I'm actually heading to Bronx because I have a class there Friday. I at Palm Parkway.
Okay. You take the train out there?
Yep. I usually go to Times Square, I take the 2. And sometimes I transfer a 180 to the 5, because Palm Parkway is close to this stop, Morris Park.
Yeah. My son used to live there with his mom. They lived out in Morris Park for a long time. Yeah,
it's a lovely area, and that was my very first Zumba job. I was teaching for a Jewish center called Bronx House.
So those folks are coming to the park now to join you, the people from Bronx House?
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's very cool.
Bronx House was giving me a problem because they were not happy that I was calling their members to join me in the park.
Oh.
So I told them, okay, I'll do the class far away from the building, but I'm still gonna call them because I have a permit.
Why would they be upset? Because you're just giving their members something to do because they can't go there.
Exactly.
What?
They said it doesn't look good in the optics. Like they also wanted to do classes and they can. So.
Well, once they do the classes, you'll be back there, right? That's your, you're just doing what you have to do in the meantime.
Yeah, it's
all politics, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah, it's me trying to make the best of this, and I have to pay my rent. You have to pay your rent, so we have to do what we got to do. And I'm sorry that them as a corporation, still cannot be full-on capacity or working. Right. Me as an individual, I'm more vulnerable than them. They'll be fine.
Right.
I need to pay my rent, so.
Man, yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Likewise, I actually never done a podcast before, so when you invited me, I was like, yes, I'm gonna do it. Yes, let's do it. When? Can tomorrow? Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it was a good time. It's fun. Like I've been doing these by myself for a long time, and it was boring. And frankly, that's why I never did them. I was very inconsistent because it was boring. It wasn't fun. So I said, look at how many people I know on Twitter. I know on Facebook. from my fitness world, from my fighting world, from my military, from politics. I know so many people in so many different spaces.
Yeah.
Why don't I instead sit and talk with people? You know, and I'm loving it. You know, I'm catching up with a lot of friends who I haven't talked to in a long time, and we're having conversations, just chatting, but also talking about big things. Like we spent a good deal of time talking about some major issues in the world today, and it's just a conversation. You know, so it's great. It makes it much more fun.
I just want to say, I always admire you because you're very well-rounded. And like you said, you have a very broad circle of friends and professionals and different people, and you have to take advantage of that. I think you, in a certain way, you already do, you know. And like you said, you're very humble and curious. So, and that it's very inspiring to me, Angel, because whenever someone is not curious, they keep themselves from experiencing greater things in life, you know. And so keep your curiosity, you know, and be humble and honest and genuine. You're a great guy, and I was so glad to be in your podcast. And yeah, invite everyone. Everybody wants to be talking to you, I'm sure. And you and networking is about giving. Remember, I learned this this week. It was a quote I saw on Instagram. Networking is about giving. It's about you giving your time and being open to listen to the other people around you. And say yes. You have to say yes to a lot of things that you feel like saying no immediately. That's a red flag. Whenever your body reacts like immediately, you have to think it twice, because sometimes it's just fear, you know, and you're preventing yourself from experiencing something amazing in your life. So we have to say more yes in life.
That's true. I've heard that before. I don't remember exactly where I heard it, but I have heard that. Say yes to things you want to say no to. Of course, within reason. We're talking about healthy things and, you know, like say no to crack, you know. You know?
Yeah, don't be destructive, people. Please, listeners, no, yeah, drugs are bad for you. And that's the thing too I learned during this quarantine, is to balance the amount of liquor. I used to drink way more. Now I don't drink. And I cook more clean food. I'm not vegan, but I like to eat a lot of plant-based food during the week. You know, it's all about self-care, right? It involves everything. Zumba, hygiene, mental health,
Right. Rest and
rest, sleep.
family, friends, talking, whatever you self time, you know. I gained a lot of weight. I was a little destructive on myself, but you know, I got vertigo during this time, and you know, I'm I mentioned before I've struggled with depression in my life, and I'm very hard on myself. You know, I am really, really hard on myself. I'm very, very cruel to myself in here, you know, and um, one of the things I do to sometimes punish myself is with food. you know, I, you know, so I couldn't work out because I was dizzy and I was spinning, and that made me angry. And then I ate, and then I was angry because I ate, and I ate more, and then I was angry because then I started getting fatter, and that made me angrier, and I ate more, and I'm like, let me see how much destruction I can do, and I go into this self-destructive mindset, and I don't know what happened. I just, you know, I went to put on some work pants, and they wouldn't button up. And I said, holy crap. And I stepped on the scale, and I was like 235 pounds. I'm so close to where I started this journey. And that day I said, this stops, you know? And I put out a request online if anybody had weights for me to buy. And, you know, I've started to, you know, once the gym opened, I was back on, you know, I was back. I needed the gym. You know, I needed.
It's like we said, it's okay to go through your feelings, to feel for a certain period of time, a little blue, a little sad, but we have to find tools to pick ourselves up and get out of that hole,
Okay.
that mental hole. And I'm very proud of you for saying that, and also for saying openly about your struggles. That helps me a lot too. I used to have like eating disorders when I was a stripper or mod. Like you still see on my Instagram some photos when I used to be a model. And my struggle was the opposite. I used to stop eating completely and go days without eating. And because I wanted to punish myself because I had something really greasy or fatty that day, and then you binge it, and then you feel very bad about yourself, and then you say, oh, I will never eat it again, and I will never eat it again for days. So eating disorders can be so unique. It varies from person to person that people think, oh, it's just binging. No, sometimes the opposite. You don't want to eat at all, and then you become anorexic, and body dysmorphia. It's a thing nowadays because everybody uses filters, so you have to understand and be very compassionate to yourself first. And I think you're very compassionate to yourself. You respect the journey, and you are very aware. So and I want to thank you. That's very brave to say openly, but you're doing the good work. You're doing the work, so kudos to you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's crazy how we don't know these things about people, right? We talk to people, we see them, and we just don't know. Everybody has a different things they cope with,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, man. The way everybody has a story, like I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you had the eating, the dysmorphia thing I can understand, especially as fitness people. I used to have a 6-pack. And even when I had a 6-pack, I always felt fat.
Yeah, me too.
Even then.
I'm still on a diet right now. I'm not having the carbs at night, but it's more balanced. It's a healthier diet. But I used to go to extremes, and back when I was like in my 20s, I used to cut myself because I was so angry because I had no discipline. It's very hard to build up that discipline, right? So I had extremes and destructive habits because I couldn't have like a balanced diet. I would go to extremes. So I would have results.
Black or white?
Yeah, I would have
Where's
results.
The gray?
Like totally chaotic, and nothing in life is black and white. Like again, full circle. We're talking about gender. We talk about feminism. We talk everything's a spectrum. There's no black and white in life. Forget about it.
And it's not sustainable. The things I used to do when I was 20 to get the 6-pack and stuff, it wasn't sustainable, as is evidenced by where I'm at today. And even with
a lot of people are in denial where they are in life in the present moment. I have a Zumba student. She's 78 years old. Like, she wants to dance like me.
Yeah.
Like, you'll never dance like me. I'm 34. You have to dance as a 70-year-old woman because, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to understand that's who you are. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful acknowledging where you are, your limitations, because there's no one in the world like you. You're unique, So, yeah, and you are a married man now, and you have a lifestyle that is different from when you had that body, because that body was a reflection of who you were that day. You're not that person anymore. We all change.
Yeah. But coming to grips with that is hard, and not being able, like I can understand that 78-year-old woman because I'm 43, but in my mind still wants to train the way I trained when I was 21. You know, I want to throw up 400 pounds like I did when I was 21, and my torn shoulders. Like, yeah, Angel, I don't think so, buddy. And it's hard to come to grips with that. Yeah, we totally did it backwards, dude. It's been a pleasure. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Christine enjoyed it. What she could hear before she got some calls. Well, it was a good time, brother. We'll do this again, man. And I'll hopefully see you Sundays.
Yes, son. I also teach a class in the park, Forest Park, the entrance by the Kew Gardens. It's actually quite easy, but again, hit me up on social media. My name is Danilo, Danilo Silva, Silva. I do Zumbas, just Danilo Zumba NYC. I will pop up.
And if you can't find them, message me and I'll connect you. One of the coolest Zumba instructors in New York, for sure.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're kind. Thank you so much for having me. And I will always say yes, because I love you, my friend.
Awesome. All right, man. Have a safe trip. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Chris. Bye.
Take care.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.